In today's video, I want to go over the massive gameplay update that is coming to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know a lot of you guys were a little bit disappointed of the game primarily focusing on action gameplay. However, a new gameplay option has been announced featuring classic Final Fantasy VII gameplay, so we'll talk about that. Also, the Game Awards 2019 has its date set. It is going to be happening December 12th, and with that, we're probably going to get a lot of new game announcements, gameplay reveals, all that good stuff. So we'll talk all about that, and The Surge 2 has gotten a brand new story trailer that gives us an idea of the narrative of the game, because generally speaking, these challenging action RPGs typically don't have the best stories in the world, but The Surge 2 does have a focus on its narrative, so I do want to highlight that a little bit, especially because the game in general hasn't been getting a lot of attention. So we'll cover that at the end of this video. First up, Final Fantasy VII Remake has been one of the primary games shown off at the Tokyo Game Show, and now we have an update to the game's gameplay as far as the remake is concerned. Yes, it has a primary focus on action-oriented gameplay. However, for those of you that are nostalgic towards Final Fantasy VII and do want to play with an old-school flair, it was announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake will have a classic gameplay option for players who prefer their role-playing games turn-based, just as the original Final Fantasy VII back in '97. At Tokyo Game Show on Saturday, producer Yoshinori Katase confirmed that the remake of the classic RPG, which updates the game to being an action RPG with a heavy focus on action, maybe a little bit more simplified of a version to Final Fantasy 15 if you want to look at it that way, but definitely an action-focused gameplay style. But it will also offer an optional turn-based battle mode where players can select attacks and other moves from a menu interface. According to a translated recap of the Final Fantasy VII Remake TGS stage show from the game's official Twitter account, Classic Mode will recreate the same style of turn-based gameplay from the original, while the standard mode of play will automatically fill the player's ATB gauge as they attack enemies. In Classic Mode, this aspect of gameplay is handled automatically. The player does not need to do anything, and the character fights automatically, charging up their ATB gauge. Players who will opt for the classic mode won't have to worry about the action side of the combat system, and instead can focus on selecting commands, making it possible to play the remake as if it were a classic menu-based RPG. Now, on one sense, I'm very happy that they are offering gamers a way to play the old-school style of gameplay. Look, I get it that this game is going to be one that really does drive home on nostalgia. There are so many people that played Final Fantasy VII back in '97, and they just want to play that authentic FF7 experience just with better visuals, and on that end, I'm happy for you guys. But from my viewpoint, in 2019 heading into 2020, there are going to be a lot of gamers that do want to play a game not in that old turn-based system, and that's why I'm happy that they did initially go with the action-oriented playstyle. I just think in 2019, heading into 2020 when this game is going to be released, that style of gameplay is going to be more captivating to a larger audience of gamers. Now, that's not to say that turn-based JRPGs are dead by any means. You look at games like Dragon Quest XI, Persona 5, those are incredibly robust turn-based JRPGs, and they have done very, very well. It's just in the case of Final Fantasy VII, and you do want to have all this flash, all this flair, I do think that's accentuated a little bit more if you do have an action-oriented playstyle. But guess what? FF7 is going to have the best of both worlds. It's going to have a turn-based option, it's going to have an action-oriented option, so however you want to play the game, you'll have the option to play the game exactly how you want to. Now, my qualm with the game is something I've reiterated over and over again. I really want to get an idea to how much of the Final Fantasy VII experience that this part of the game is going to encompass, because at this point, we still don't know. We don't know if they're adding a sizable amount of new content, because look, Final Fantasy VII was a lengthy game, but if they're looking to separate this game into 4 parts, I really want to know how much content are they adding, how much gameplay is really in there, because if, let's say, they're separating it into 3 or 4 parts, that hypothetically means that if you know what you're doing, you could probably complete these games in like 10 to 12 hours, and at that point, Final Fantasy VII, a remake like that, would probably be a little bit too short at 10 to 12 hours. I'm sure that won't be the case. There's going to be a litany of side content and whatever the case may be, but from a content standpoint, we're still really left in the dark of what the Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to entail, and maybe that's for the best. I really don't want to know the entirety of the game and what's offered in the game before I even get into it, but I do kind of want to know, because this is a remake, because I do know the overarching narrative of Final Fantasy VII, I want to know, when am I going to be cut off from this story? Is it going to offer me a lot of gameplay, or is this going to be more of an action-oriented experience? I don't know, and I do hope we get a tiny bit of clarity on that. But nonetheless, Final Fantasy VII Remake will be hitting the PlayStation 4 exclusively on March 3rd, 2020. Alright, moving on from that, one of the bigger game events of the year in the Game Awards 2019 has been officially set for December 12th of this year. That was announced by show organizer Jeff Keighley, and this is his message that he put out. Quote, "Over the past 8 months, I've quietly traveled the world to talk with the creators who inspire me. When we sit down, I ask a simple question: why do you keep creating? No matter what happens in our lives or in the world, the act of creation is a deeply personal, spiritual, and fulfilling pursuit filled with sacrifice and challenge, but fueled by opportunity for impact. At their best, games can make us feel alive." Today, I am happy to share the date for the Game Awards, Thursday, December 12th. This year's show will celebrate the act of creation as I turn the stage over to a group of visionary teams selected to share their new projects with you. I'm honored to be given this platform to celebrate our shared passion on a global scale. You'll hear much more in the coming weeks about our plans for the 5th anniversary show. It will be very special. Now, yes, the show is called the Game Awards, and maybe if you haven't watched the show in the past, you would think that this is just where they hand out awards to the best games of the year. That's not always the case. A big part of the Game Awards is to hand out awards, but the other big part of the Game Awards is to announce new games, show off new gameplay. We've had massive game announcements in the past. Metal Gear Solid 5 was shown off in that crazy video as a part of the Game Awards a few years ago where it was announced as a Moby Dick Studio production. That was a little bit crazy. We've had announcements of games such as No Man's Sky. We've seen titles like The Witcher make an appearance. We've seen some major titles shown off at the Game Awards for the first time, and I imagine that there's going to be some heavy hitters at the Game Awards 2019 as well. I think Uncharted 4 was actually officially announced at a Game Awards show. So that just goes to show how big these shows can actually be in terms of new game announcements. Whatever the case may be, the Game Awards 2019 is coming back, and it is tentatively set for December 12th. That's probably going to stick. They've never actually pushed the Game Awards around from its original date. And tickets are on sale right now at access.com, so you can check that out for yourself if you are living in the area or you want to travel to go. The Game Awards will be held on December 12th. And by the way, it will be held in the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California, so that is pretty cool. And lastly, I do want to give you guys an update on The Surge 2, as a brand new trailer for that was posted in the Surge 2 story trailer. Publisher Focus Home Interactive and developer Deck 13 have released a new story trailer for the action RPG in The Surge 2. Here's an overview of the story and the trailer from Focus Home. In The Surge 2, on September 24th, life on Earth as we know it is coming to an end. Deck 13's latest hardcore action RPG entry begins after the defrag nanovirus strikes following the launch of a Utopia rocket. In Jericho City, one lone warrior, you must fight through hell, high water, and amnesia to discover the truth about the virus, the city, and much more. Experience the start of this story in the new trailer released today. Here we meet our hero and many of the inhabitants of Jericho City. Nano-cultists run rampant through the city, harvesting everything they can from the environment for their mysterious ends. The government forces of AID attempt to maintain a stranglehold on the city with violent means, all the while Athena, a girl with whom you have a special connection, leads you through the streets to a destination unknown. This mystery accompanies gameplay that refines and enhances the Surge formula, bringing new weapons, new gadgets, enhanced range combat, additional implants, and much more. Dismemberment and limb targeting still from the backbone of how you fight, loot, and choose your loadout, but with more options than ever before. The Surge 2 is due out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on September 24th, and again, from a narrative standpoint, I wouldn't expect the most exhilarating story in the world. However, I would expect something that's relatively captivating. I thought The Surge did a decent job with its storytelling, and this game seems to be a sizable improvement on top of that game, but obviously, it is going to be mostly reliant on its gameplay, and it does look like The Surge 2 is making gameplay improvements in spades. I know that this is a game that probably not everybody is going to be picking up on day one. Honestly speaking, you've got The Surge 2 and Code Vein, two similar games in terms of being challenging action RPGs, releasing right around the same time, and I do feel like there is more investment and more anticipation around Code Vein at this point, and Code Vein being more of a Japanese-oriented game with an anime art style, you would think that that might actually push some people away, but because it is attracting that niche, I just feel like inherently its audience is going to be a lot more enthralled with that experience, where in the case of The Surge 2, just because it is more catered to a Western gamer, that those Western gamers are already so busy with games like Monster Hunter World Iceborne, Borderlands 3, and all of the other upcoming games that it is going to be a little bit of a hard sell. I do believe that if The Surge 2 delivers, it could be a really high quality game that does make the rounds on the internet. People are streaming it, people are talking about it on forums, Twitter, social media, whatever the case may be. I do think it has potential on that end, as long as it does turn out to be a high quality game, and given Deck 13's titles, from Lords of the Fallen to Surge, I feel like it was a considerable improvement. Let's see if they can make the same kind of improvement with with The Surge 2, and if they can, it could turn out to be a stellar game come September 24th. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, the Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting a sizable gameplay update with the inclusion of the turn-based classic mode that is sure to please some people. I myself probably gonna stick with the action-oriented gameplay just because I already played the game in its turn-based form. I am ready to try the game in a different style. The Game Awards 2019 is set for December 12th of this year. Expect some great game announcements, Game Awards being handed out, all that good stuff. And The Surge 2 has gotten a brand new story trailer. If you're interested in the game, check out the story trailer, and if not, do have your eyes on The Surge 2, as I do think it's a game that could end up surprising a lot of people. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.